Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Good evening everybody, Militiaman and Crew, July 9th. I hope everybody had a good week. Still, it's going to progress. Today's Wednesday, and we're looking forward to a great weekend. By the way, I just want to let you know that long before I got into the Iraqi Dinar, I was a gold bug. I was really big into it. I had experience in gold mining, and then I started learning about many other things. But I realized that by learning about real money and gold, I was onto something. And so tonight, I'm so glad that I have Noble Gold as a sponsor for this video tonight. You're probably thinking your 401k is safe, that it'll be enough for your retirement. But what if it's not? Here's the truth. Your 401k was never designed to make you wealthy. It was created in a corporate boardroom to shift retirement and investment risk onto you. Designed to keep your money trapped, exposed to Wall Street crashes, inflation, and uncertainty you can't control until now. Americans are taking back control by turning to real assets like gold. Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands protect their future by converting part of their retirement savings into physical gold. Talk to Noble Gold today and learn how safe and easy it is to roll over your 401k into a tax-advantaged gold IRA without penalties or headaches. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit, including a step-by-step guide to get started. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. It's time to get your money out of the danger zone into something real. Get rewarded for getting started. Open a qualified account at noblegoldinvestments.com and they'll send you 2 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins free. First article we're going to talk to you about tonight is the monetary policy in Iraq. Its monetary stability approach and digital transformation. Yes, it's a couple days old, but I think you guys really need to focus in on it. It's a book about monetary policy in Iraq, monetary stability methodology, and digital transformation for 23 to 2025. And it goes on and talks about, well, who is it? Samir Al-Nusairi. He is reputable. He's won dozens of awards. He's published 700 specialized articles, economic banking reforms. He's talked to Arab and international magazines and newspapers. The guy's been around. He's been doing lectures to universities and students and participated in the annual scientific conferences. So the gentleman, when he talks and he writes a book about Iraq, is going to be read by a lot of people because the guy is notorious. Here's a little bit. It says Al-Nusairi scientific efforts gave detailed presentations of chapters, topics of the book. So I think there's 5 chapters. It has narratives, proposals, solutions to the challenges and obstacles, achieving monetary and financial stability, as well as the achievements of the central bank, the government's cooperation, support in the transition from a cash economy to a digital economy during the years of 2023 to 2025. The evaluation praised the books of this gentleman who's doing this, inclusion of most important strategies and policies adopted by the Central Bank of Iraq, as it represents a precise scientific journey by Al-Nusairi. Okay, so that's just a brief lead into the book. I would suggest you come into patreon.com, Militiaman and Crew, and enjoy, and I would read it. I would highly recommend it. It's in Patreon. It's in our Discord chat room, and I'm recommending my Patreons focus in on it and understand it and absorb it, and then that's fine. But it's really kind of important. The first chapter, he goes on, was able to conduct a precise and comprehensive analysis of the opportunities, challenges, and steps taken by the central bank to pursue monetary stability while reviewing foundations of monetary policy for those years of 2023, 2024. Those 2 years are still not quite completed yet, is because of they have not yet been exposed, those budget tables. We've talked about Article 12 to paragraph C. But ultimately, he will complete the banking reform process in 2025. That's what he's suggesting, completing it in 2025. Well, we're in 2025, so at some point in time. All right. The second chapter goes on, comprehensive covered electronic payments, digital transformation, development of electronic programs, all of these things that we're talking about, along with activation projects. What I'm going to be getting to is that this is going to be in past tense. So he goes on intelligently, of course, the relationship between current and future payment systems, developing projects, provided an assessment for the relationship between this effort and information assessment. Talking about cybersecurity, that's one of the things I might talk about in a Patreon in the future and in our Discord chat room is cybersecurity, because I think it's something that I believe in and something that you guys should probably understand into the future, especially when exposed to artificial intelligence. It's really going to be important for all of us to understand. And one of the things that I try to do is give you guys things that I believe in, things that I'm learning about or experienced with, and I do that with integrity and honesty. And I think you guys understand that. And I think everybody out in the world that has been watching me and watching this channel grow is because of the fact is that I keep to the point of honesty and integrity. And if this isn't, I don't do MLMs, and you know what? I think about, the things that I love. I believe in coffee and I believe in gold. I believe in a lot of things. Cybersecurity is going to be one of those things that I believe in too. So if you hear me talking about that stuff, some of that stuff is going to be some things that we need in the future. So anyway, I'll move on. But chapter 4 discusses the International Monetary Fund and its support for this plan that this book is about. That's big because the IMF is part of currencies in the world, and Iraq has components of Article 8 compliance. Are you going to be Article 8? Are you going to have a real effective exchange rate? Are you going to be Article 4 compliant, Article 8 compliant? I think so. Okay, so the 5th chapter, he addresses the causes of exchange rate fluctuations and recovery measures, emphasizing the relationship between the exchange rate, the financial and banking reform process, the relationship between the official and the parallel dollar exchange rates, government decisions and strategies for enhancing confidence in the banking sector. Basically, this is a book that he wrote is about how far Iraq has come with it in her monetary reform plan. It's basically about what's already taken place. It's basically it's supported by the International Monetary Fund and Iraq's relationships around the region and the world. Okay, so take notice of the key chapters in this article when you guys come in, and I highly suggest if you're not already in, do that anyway. But also note that most of this data from Al-Nusairi is in past tense. In other words, all of it's about what they have done already, which suggests that Iraq is ready for integration into the international financial system. And so the next thing is he's got support. One of his colleagues, Prime Minister's advisor, Mohammed Saleh. We've talked about him. He's a phenomenal person, just like Al-Nusairi is. They're both in their own realm, with their own expertise. They do a fine job, and I've been following them for, I would say, a decade. So it says, Saleh goes on and says, Iraq has moved into a phase of implementing a new monetary and fiscal policy, characterized by flexibility and consistency. He noted that monetary policy has succeeded, past tense, in controlling inflation and achieving price stability. After monetary policy has passed the stage of activating its strategic operational objectives, which is an important stage for controlling the harmony between the effectiveness of the interest rate and exchange rate indicators. It also has succeeded in controlling the growth of cash liquidity levels in the overall economy, thus achieving stability, monetary balance. And also it says this represents a strategic success, again, past tense, embodying the high performance of the Central Bank of Iraq's policy and the government's fiscal policy, so both the government and the Central Bank are working in tandem, and their consistent and precise work without divergence, so they're staying focused. It says the monetary policy has succeeded in controlling the growth of inflation rates and has achieved an effective guarantee of precise stability, whether through stability of the exchange rate, the growth of liquidity in the economy, through the efficient use of foreign reserves that support this liquidity, and with a degree, again, of harmony that has become consistent with the country's overall economic policy in achieving tangible levels of success. It's a long little sentence there, but they invoke succeeded and success. So it's past tense. Okay, so anyway, he points out that the capital indicators, particularly capital market indicators such as the volume of bank loans, foreign exchange reserves, capital flows, all now reflect the financial system's ability to support economic growth and absorb shocks, and are now proceeding in a stable and consistent manner with the movement of growth, trade, and investment in the national economy. And lastly, he says this confirms the success of monetary policy as a pivotal element in utilizing its tools with truly rare consistency, managing economic liquidity and its growth with stability in line with the requirements and needs of the national economy. This indicates continued success. You see how they're hammering this word success? Okay, in managing and stabilizing liquidity without interruption. Basically, Saleh is stating the facts as he sees them, and he's doing it in a past tense fashion, just as Al-Nusairi has. Basically, he is telling us that Iraq has succeeded in its monetary and financial policy with tangible levels of success. And I would suggest that what we've seen and witnessed over the last few years, he's not wrong. Okay, both of these gentlemen are renowned in their studies, and they are very reputable. And it's good to see that when they talk about past tense, that means that Iraq has accomplished a lot of things. And so what we're witnessing is the final stage, I hope. Here, this article is about the Iraqi parliament sets July 12th as the date for resuming its sessions. Okay, I'm just going to brief it. It just says the source told news outlets that Iraq's parliament's presidency has set next, so the parliament's presidency has set next Saturday, July 12th, 2025 as the date for resuming sessions for the final legislative term. Okay, so keep that in mind. Saturday is their final legislative term. They're going to start again, okay? I think they actually finished today, but they're going to start back up on the 12th, and that's on Saturday. Okay, it says, after a day of its formation, the Ministerial Committee discusses outstanding issues between Baghdad and Erbil, most notably oil and salaries. All right, so today, the July 9th, the Prime Minister of Planning, the Deputy Prime Minister of Planning, Mohammed Ali Tamim. So he chaired this group. It says that formed by the council ministers during a session that was held yesterday on Tuesday to follow up on the outstanding files between the federal government and the Kurdistan regional government. And what are they going to do? It says a review of two papers. So they came up with two papers submitted by the federal government and the regional government. The papers addressed a number of vital topics, most notably the oil export file, the regulatory mechanisms for that, the volume of local consumption of petroleum products, as well as the delivery of federal treasury share of non-oil revenues to the region. That's one thing about AI. You guys got to be very careful about how you ask questions. And you got to focus in on that, because when you're talking about value, you need to take into economics. And keep that in mind, because that's what they're doing. Okay. It says the importance of continuing technical and administrative discussions on these issues with the aim of arriving at a swift, fair, realistic solutions, remedies that guarantee the rights of Kurdistan region employees, as well as their colleagues and other Iraqi governance with the framework of the state's unified financial policy. All right. It says the Council of Ministers discussed yesterday these two papers, and it goes on and talks about the federal authorities, the Kurdistan regional part of the government, concerning issues of handing over the region's oil. So they're talking about now oil and non-oil revenues, and the files of the salaries and their localization. So we've had all that in the news, localization of the salaries. That's how they're going to get paid. Were they going to get paid from the federal government? So there's just some pretty heavy components that are online in these two papers, and we haven't seen the decision yet. Okay, but it's all in line with the Iraq's government keenness to implement what is stated in the general federal budget law. We've talked about the budget. Okay, I'll leave that alone. The budget law. They haven't exposed 23, 24 budget schedules yet for the parliament to ever even see the 2025 budget schedules yet. Got a reason for that. I think we've been over it numerous times on what we believe that it is. Okay, it says it talks about the decision of the federal court regarding the financial obligations between the federal government and the Kurdistan Regional Government of Iraq. End of day. But one of you guys, when you read this article, you might want to remember too, but look who is involved with the review of these two papers and involved. It is ministers of construction, housing, higher education, justice, health. Okay, all of those ministries are involved because they're serious about this. It's going to be if there's going to be an adjustment, everybody's going to need to know what's going on with those budget tables. So we'll go on, but keep that in mind. Patreon's full of this stuff, and that's why all of you that are in Patreon and Discord, thank you so much. Every single one of you in my community are powerful people, and much love to everybody. And of course to our crew members, okay? They know I love them. Okay, Baghdad and Erbil discuss unifying procedures for the entry of goods and merchandise imported into Iraq. Interesting, so then we talked about planning, right? Construction, all that stuff. Ministry of Planning announced on Wednesday, today, the Central Organization for Standardization and Quality Control in the ministry held a meeting with a delegation from the Kurdistan region to standardize procedures for the entry of imported goods and commodities into Iraq. It says that Diwani, there was an order committee 79S 2024, but they discussed these mechanisms. Basically, they're saying implementing the decision of the Ministerial Council of Economy. And in Patreon, I talked about the Ministerial Council of Economy, and I've done that for over a couple of years now because they were formed immediately when al-Sudani got into office. Anyway, Ministerial Council of Economy regarding the unification of procedures for the entry of goods and commodities imported into Iraq. Okay, so when they do that, there's a lot of implications there, but I'm not getting into all the implications, but you should understand that when you import stuff, they have fees and customs and they have all that stuff. Okay, in light of the agreement signed between the federal government, so this is key right here. In light of the agreement signed between the federal government and Kurdistan Regional Government, it discusses practical steps to implement provisions of the agreement to ensure the smooth flow of trade, simplify procedures at border crossings by standardizing specifications and quality inspections for imported goods. Well, they're not only just talking about quality, but they're also talking about border crossings. And border crossings have a component that's related to fees, taxes, and tariffs, all that. Okay. So anyway, it goes on and says, regional government delegation renewed its fulfillment to implementing the agreement and affirmed Iraq's keenness to enhance economic integration with the federal government. So the two bodies want to meet in this in a way that contributes to achieving the interests of citizens in all of the governments. And it goes on and says the movement of trade between the region and the rest of the Iraqi governance within a unified legal framework that enhances the business environment and protects the Iraqi market from non-compliant goods. But ultimately, there is an agreement on oil and now. We know that from about last Wednesday. And they have now an agreement for goods and merchandise crossing borders. We've yet to see the oil flow, and nor have we seen the salaries yet. But I believe there is an agreement for the oil and the cost of productions. They just haven't exposed it yet. Why? Because all of these things are coming in together, and they're all going to be related to, I believe, Article 12, 2, Paragraph C. And I think they're all going to be exposed at the same time. All of it. That's my view. And we'll see how if I'm right or not. Okay. Here's an article that you guys will tie into this, I'm pretty sure. It says the import authority calls for setting a date for the budget schedules. So we were just talking about cross borders, right? And here the import authority calls for setting a date for the budget schedules. It says the general authority for monitoring the allocation of federal revenues, Susan Abdullah, called for the need to set clear timetables that oblige the concerned parties to submit budget schedules, warning that delaying the negatively impacts the fairness of the resource distribution and disrupts the implementation of service projects and governance. She explains delaying the schedules disrupts the budget cycle in 3 interconnected stages, which is allocation, financing, and disbursement, which leads to a time gap, approval of the law, disbursement of funds, citizens are waiting for money, contractors are waiting for money, all that. Affects the implementation of vital projects, especially those related to infrastructure. So it's really important, and she's talking about that. She added that the authority, in cooperation with the Ministries of Finance and Planning, so the Ministry of Finance is involved. That's the legal department, isn't it? And planning, okay, organization, as well as the Financial Oversight Authority has established criteria for resource distribution. So those 3 ministries have established criteria for resource distribution, including from population size, poverty rates, deprivation, governance contribution to public revenues. And they go on and emphasize the criteria has been referred to the State Council for review and legislation. Well, at this stage of the game, I'm pretty sure that the Ministerial Council of Economics has been on this for 2.5 years already, and I would imagine that all that is probably something that we're not waiting for. Interestingly enough, the United States State Department reaffirms support. We talked about the Arab League support, the Europe support, all of the different things that they have support from the IMF, the World Bank, etc. U.S. State Department reaffirms support for dialogue between Erbil and Baghdad. So everybody's kind of going, come on, let's get this stuff going. It says this has been a long-standing issue, no doubt. So Tammy Bruce, she's the U.S. State Department spokesman. She says, we continue to urge both Baghdad and Erbil to resolve their issues through constructive dialogue that has not changed. We still want that. She goes on and says, this has been a long-standing issue. We've continued to urge Baghdad and Erbil to resolve their issues through constructive dialogue that has not changed. We still want that. She emphasized that resolving the salary dispute would not only ease tensions, but also send a strong message to international investors, particularly American companies, that Iraq is open to do business. A successful resolution would signal broader cooperation for the benefit of all Iraqis. And she's referencing key projects such as reopening the Iraqi-Turkey pipeline, oil flow, and the expansion of energy exploration, including those involving United States firms. But she also underscored the importance of Iraq and Kurdistan region in the broader U.S. vision for regional peace and development. And she goes on and says, I know the United States President's vision of peaceful world is one where anything is possible. Iraq fits into that vision. So do the Kurdish people. So that's reaching out to the Kurdish people to have some support. We're behind you. So make the right choices. Do the right thing. That's basically how I take it. And so here's an article. This isn't going to be political, but this is what we have. It says Trump flirts with Sudani with a message, then hits Iraq with 30% tariffs. This is a contradictory article. There's numerous ones out tonight. But what I came out with is a little brief couple of points, I believe. It says, the U.S. decision to impose tariffs on Iraq reflects sharper and more tense messages. On the one hand, a path to partnership and prosperity is being charted, okay? While on the other hand, economic penalties being imposed that could directly harm the Iraqi economy already facing significant challenges. Okay, in that statement, I would use one word, pressure. Pressure is being applied from the United States. We had Tammy Bruce saying we're giving you support. But they're also saying we're giving you support, but there's going to be consequences if you don't kind of like get it. That's being light, you guys. Okay, so the politics behind these fees, it says the decision is not limited to purely commercial aspect. Rather, it's a political tool to pressure the Iraqi government. I wouldn't be surprised at this stage of the game, they need to have this moved over into the international financial system. And so if there's any blowback on the political side, back and forth, look, you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys realize that al-Sudani has to deal with his many different things. He has political, and he also has the Shia camp that he's part of. And to walk that fine line in the politics of Iraq, he's got to be very careful. And so I think he took the proper route is to say, I'm going to put it in the hands of the court, which he did. And that means all the salaries, all of these things, the tripartite budget. He's been going with that in the hands of the court, and when the ball's in his court, he's put it into the court so that he can cover himself. And this is not terribly different in the sense that there's a lot of people that don't want Iraq to revalue their currency. They want the status quo. And because it goes against some of the influence that are inside the politics. So he has to be very careful and dance a fine line. I'm just pointing out that it looks like that he's kind of given an out because the pressure that has been just applied, about 30% tariffs, ties his hands somewhat. So if he makes a decision, he says, well, I'm for the people. If we don't do this, there's consequences, and that goes against the people. And I think that's kind of what we're witnessing. Okay, and he goes on and says, it appears that the previous U.S. administration, through these tariffs, is seeking to impose, and I think that's a typo, but we'll see, is seeking to impose new political conditions or attempt to reshape Iraq's role in the region, especially in light of its complex regional alliances. Hey, it's the article. It's not an easy read, but there's about 5 of them or 4 of them in patreon.com. So if you guys would like, love to have you. Come on in, true value. And by the way, if all of you guys in Patreon and Discord missed the sit rep I did last night, it's in Patreon. Come check it out. And for those that missed that, check it out. I think it's good because what they're doing with the national card is they keep hammering home the reassurances of why that's about. That video or audio I did last night is a study about that, so I hope you guys enjoy it, and everybody's welcome. And if you like my content, hit the like button, subscribe, and I appreciate all the donations, Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, because truly it's a lot of work what we do here for everybody to keep even these videos coming. Thank you very much. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.